Last Sunday in Somers Point, New Jersey, a very deserving award was given out.
I'm the president of the South Jersey Jazz Society. I really want to thank you for coming out. There's nobody more deserving this award than my friend, a dear friend, Joe Donofrio. Really. Every time I say his name, it puts a smile on my face. So that says a lot in and of itself. There's a lot of jazz things happening in this area, and it's thanks to the South Jersey Jazz Society they are happening. This is just one of them, but this is a very important one. At this point in time, I'd like to invite on stage Michael Pedersen Jr.
I need to read two pieces that were sent to us. The first piece is from a guitarist in New York City named Charlie Apicella. Joe Donofrio has been a wonderful mentor to me these last few years, and I would like to take this opportunity to salute him. As an emerging jazz musician, I have had the great fortune of having access to Joe's advice and expertise. Anytime I ask him to schedule a phone call, he always makes himself available and is so generous with his time. 5 years ago, I was invited by Pat Martino to begin private guitar lessons. A great benefit to this relationship has been that it gave me access to Joe. It is no secret the hard work and dedication Joe has devoted to Pat Martino's career, and it is a tremendous contribution to the music world that Pat continues to have an opportunity to perform so frequently at the best venues in the world. His visiting New York every 6 months or so is always a highlight, and his performances are eagerly anticipated among my fellow guitarists and everyone else in New York that loves jazz, by the way. Another tremendous impact Joe has made on my career was introducing me to this wonderful community of jazz musicians and fans here at the South Jersey Jazz Society. One of the greatest opportunities in my life as a musician has been recording and performing with one of my heroes, Sonny Fortune. Joe facilitated our concert as part of the South Jersey Jazz Society concert series in 2018. This turned out to be Iron City's only live performance opportunity to materialize with Sonny Fortune as he sadly passed away only 8 months later. In fact, our recording date in September 7th, 2017 was his last time in the studio. I thank Joe for recommending Iron City to the booking committee at that time, and as it sadly turned out to be a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. That experience showed me Joe cares about my success and appreciates my music. He always takes the time to listen to my ideas and offer his wisdom, and I value our friendship very much. Thank you, Joe, and congratulations. You truly deserve this honor you are receiving today. Your friend, Charlie. This next one is short, and I had to smile to myself because the person who wrote it, Pat Martino, who Joe has managed for a number of years, is probably one of the most loquacious individuals I've ever met. But he said what he felt in his heart, said it briefly, and it's beautifully written. Joe Donofrio, I thank you for the years of support you've provided. Your compassion and commitment have consistently achieved beyond what has been needed. Above all, there can be nothing greater than the friendship that has grown between us. Bravo. This is mine. Good afternoon, jazz lovers. My name is Michael Pedersen, and I'm here today for a couple of reasons. I am here because I respect, love, and play the music that our Jazz Master Award recipient also loves and respects. I am also here to play some jazz for all of you with my dear friends, Andy Lawless, Doug Martin, and Frank Strauss. And most importantly, I am here to talk to you about Joe Donofrio. I'd like to begin by telling you a little about this award and how we as a society go about choosing our recipients. I was honored in 2014 by receiving this award. I thought I was too young to get a Jazz Master Award. I was quite honored to have received that, by the way. The award is actually named the George Mesterhazy Jazz Master Award. George Mesterhazy, who was raised here in our neighborhood, was an absolutely brilliantly talented pianist and composer, for those of you that did not know George or don't know about him. He left us way, way, way too early. We all miss his music, his brilliance, his absolutely wonderful sense of humor, and his devout honesty. One did not fool George. Now let's move to the man for whom we are here today, Joe Donofrio. There's a bio in your program, which I wrote, by the way, so I know a lot of the information is already there. But I like to fill in the spaces, so to speak. Joe began his professional life as a drummer himself, and like many of us, began playing at a very, very young age, and continued to do so through his college years. But there was another dimension to Joe's very active professional life. He realized early on that there were other facets of this music business, and it is a business. Those of us who play it don't like to think of it that way all the time. And these things intrigued him and fascinated Joe. And I guess even early on he began to think that maybe I should kind of dabble or swing into those realms of the music business. Joe realized early also that he had that special sensibility that would enable him to help develop other talented musicians and singers, the awareness of how to treat other aspiring, artistic, creative people. That quality is not something that all of us possess. It takes a special, extremely caring, and very creative individual to leave his or her ego aside and devote that energy to making the career of another artist so absolutely special. Not an easy task for many of us, not only in the music business. As we all know, the arts are by far not the easiest way to secure the living. In your program, you can read about Joe's very first important client, the Rocco sisters. Oh, you know them? Right here. And how lucky we are. One of those very talented sisters is here with us today. And as a matter of fact, you are going to hear her amazing voice a little later. Joe's wife, Kathy Rocco. So Joe went on to manage the Rocco Sisters and other groups as well. The skills of a good manager are very special. Not only must you help to create and help build an act and a career, but you must sometimes book it as well and promote it, while giving the security and trust to the artists that are depending on you for their income, their safety, and their development. At times it takes being their friend, their confidant, their mother or father, and maybe their only attachment to emotional well-being as an artist. Joe can do all of that. In fact, let me present to you 4 short biographical sketches of 4 deeply meaningful and impactful people in my life that has some of these qualities Joe demonstrates. My first was my dad, Mike Pedersen Sr. Thank you. Thank you. Talented, loving, and wonderful father. And I used to listen to him when I was a kid. I was about 12, actually, when he had his biggest record, Shake a Hand. I used to listen to him on the telephone with his agents. It would kind of go like this. Oh, wow, yeah, great. The record's #1 in Chicago. Wonderful. No, I'm not coming to Chicago. I live here in Ardmore, Pennsylvania, with my wife, my son, and my daughter. I was about 12 at that time. Next in my list of kind of mentorish people, again with qualities that Joe has, and I want to describe some of these because you know the names, was Maynard Ferguson, who I played with from 1975 for a couple of years. No matter what went around Maynard and his band, he never lost his musical acuity and never lost the feeling that for the young musicians that were playing for him. And that's how he always looked at it, that we were supporting his career. The last one I want to mention before getting to Joe, Dave Brubeck. That call came to me to join his band on January 1st, 1982. Picked up the phone in my kitchen. This is Dave Brubeck, and of course I fell on the floor at that time. A call that I'll never forget. But all of my time with Dave just reminded me of all of the things that he did that I know Joe does for all of the musicians with whom he's involved in so many ways, but most importantly with Pat as a manager. But so many of us have depended on Joe for so much advice and conversations about what we do and how we maintain our lives as artistic people. So most importantly, Joe Donofrio, a guy who mirrors all of the qualities that I mentioned. Integrity, respect. I've never seen him disrespect anyone. Appreciation, knowledge, understanding boundaries, teaching boundaries, having a dynamic relationship with the artist first and foremost. On the other side of that relationship with artists, Joe has built and maintained that same sensibility with buyers and promoters. And he has the empathic ability to feel compassion and to intuitively read and understand the feelings and needs of the creative musicians with whom he shares the personal desire of their musical and individual artistic evolution. That is Joe Donofrio. One of the most important functions of Joe's illustrious career has been as the manager of one of our world's most brilliantly talented and virtuosic jazz guitarists, Pat Martino. Since 1998, Joe has not only continued to make Pat's worldwide success meaningful and rewarding, but he has been able to do it in a manner that is indescribably intuitive with the utmost business savvy. Not easy to have all of that. Pat Martino is a consummate artist. Joe is there for Pat in every way. Joe is his manager, his friend, and Joe is his constant protector. In addition to these accomplishments, Joe has been a member of NARIS, the National Academy of Recording Arts and Sciences, the umbrella organization that produces the Grammy Awards. Donofrio's album production credits have earned him 12 nominations and 6 actual Grammy Awards. When in 2014, our society president, Nick Regine, offered me the job as artistic director. That is before Nick met Joe Donofrio. I said, thank you, Nick, but I'd rather introduce you to a man who could far surpass my abilities as the artistic director of the Jazz Society. And man, has he done so. Nick and the board met Joe, and we all realized that we had kind of struck it rich here in Somers Point, New Jersey. One of the best mentors and artistic directors that we could ever have in the jazz business. Joe has enabled us as a society to bring here to Somers Point and to South Jersey some of the best international talent that the world has to offer. From the 4 freshmen to Joey DiFrancesco and Pat Martino, from Eric Alexander to Pat Bianchi, from Dave Stryker to the New York Voices. We could have never compared our reach to the great artistic reach that Joe has manifested. Not only does he continue to manage, produce, promote, and foster the career of so many artists, but he shows love, devotion, and a genuine caring and empathy for each of them as people who were devoted to the art form that he so loves and respects. The Joe Donofrio that I know is a wonderful father to his son Dean, a loving and supportive husband to his beautiful wife Kathy, and I'm fortunate enough to say, and my dear friend. Please welcome extraordinary engineer and Sigma Sound recruiting studio owner Joe Tarzia, who will present our award to Joe Donofrio.
Words about
that microphone.
I should know. I'm honored to be here to say a few words about a musician, a producer, a manager, 6-time Grammy Award winner, and my dear friend Joe Donofrio. I met Joe about 25 years ago. At the time, I was a Recording Academy trustee on my way to LA to see the Grammys. Joe was going out as well, so we went together. Me, the big shot, I figured I would impress Joe by taking him to a couple of record company after parties and introduce him to some of the people in the business. Wow, what a lesson in humility. Instead of me introducing Joe, Joe was introducing me. The top brass in the room came to Joe and shook his hand. After that trip and the many years that followed, I think I found out what Joe Donofrio's trick was. And I'm going to repeat Mike. And it was 2 words, integrity and respect. Integrity because Joe is a man of his word. Respect because that is what he gives to people he deals with and he gets in return. It is with great pleasure to present Joe Donofrio with the 2019 George Mesterhazy Jazz Masters Award.
Wow.
Joe!
Thank you. Overwhelming, to say the least.
I know I have notes somewhere.
They were good. All right. Joe Tarzia just was here, right? Okay. He was my mentor. I love him. I'm so happy he came. He's a legend. He started Sigma Studios. And if you don't know who and what Sigma Studios are, you've been under a rock. The sound of Philadelphia. Joe Tarzia. 150 gold and platinum records. He was an inventor. Some of the things he invented, they're still using to this day. Amazing. The people he recorded, people like Bobby Rydell, Lou Rawls, the Jacksons, Whitney Houston, Madonna, Grover Washington. That's just a few. Amazing. I was getting to that, Kenny. Kenny beat me to it. Tonight we have Kenny Jeremiah, who recorded in that studio, The Soul Survivors. Come on up.
Take my award.
Thank you, Joe. I appreciate it. I love my foot. You okay? Zip. My partner, Zippy, Jeff Morgan. Let's give him a hand. He's with me at every moment. I wouldn't know what to do without Jeff. Well, I'm honored tonight, and the award's named after George Mesterhazy, and it's twofold for me. One, having been honored by my peers, and it's nice of all the people on the board to vote me in. I only had to pay a few off. The rest just voted. But George, I got to know George when I came to town in 1980. We became friends, and we were dear friends until he passed in 2012. Like Michael said, much too soon. He was always open to help anybody and everybody. And maybe I learned some of that from him. I don't care who it was that called him, he would take them in, help them out. And to this day, his legacy is still going on. And they honor him, and they will always honor him. George Mesterhazy, thank you. Now, Mr. Pettacino, Dr. Michael Pedersen. Michael Pedersen, he wears so many hats, it's incredible. But the hat I like best is he's a friend. And I can't thank you enough for being a friend. He brought me into this society. I wouldn't be here without him bringing me to this society. So thank you, Michael. I actually had to produce, I got to 2 CDs for him, which was an honor. Who knows, we may do some more down the road. He did mention Pat Martino. I should say something about Pat. It's over 20 years that I've been managing Pat, but I gotta tell you how I met Pat. I had some company that came down to Brigantine, New Jersey, where I live, and we were partying and having a good time, and the phone rang, and should I answer it? I better answer it. Well, it was John Mulhern. And John Mulhern said, Joe, would you please do me a favor and meet with Pat Martino. He has a situation that I think maybe you could help him with. I said, wow, just the idea of meeting Pat was good enough for me, whether I could help him or not. I just wanted to meet him. I was such a fan. So we met at the diner in Brigantine, New Jersey. I sat across from Pat, listening to him, with his low voice. I said, wow, I don't know if I could help you, Pat. I really don't. Wow. You know, you're a legend. He said, well, John Mulhern thinks you can, and let's talk about it. I said, okay. Anyway, it went very well. We decided, let's give it 1 year. Let's see what happens. If it works out, we'll go from there. Well, it's 20 years later. And I must say something about Pat. He's a huge inspiration because I'm sure many of you know he had a brain aneurysm, lost his memory, and had to relearn the guitar. That's when I got him, when he was relearning. Well, he played so good, he got 6 Grammy nominations in the next 3 or 4 years. Fabulous. To this day, he's still performing. He's a brilliant musician, and I wish Pat could be here today, but he's not feeling very well today, but I thank him for that note. Let's give Pat Martino a hand. I wouldn't be here without Pat. Everyone in this room knows any well-organized ship, they need a commander-in-chief, right? Someone has to be the boss. I have one. On the way over. Your seatbelt on? Slow down. I think you'd make a left here. Oh. Oh, you know what I'm talking about. Well, I wake up in the morning and she is doing her yoga exercises. Then she goes over on the trampoline. And then she goes to the piano, practices, and then she does her vocal exercises. Breakfast, lunch, and dinner.
Yeah.
Wow. I get so tired watching her. And every year I have a resolution. I'm going to try some of these things that Kathy tells me. Every year. And guess what? There was always something that pulls me. All my friends, and you know who you are, I'm blaming you. I do want to mention my son, Dean, that Michael graciously mentioned. I'm so proud of him. He graduated from Ohio University in film school, summa cum laude. Was so proud of him. But I always tease him. I said, you know, you graduated summa cum laude, your dad graduated, give me a cup of coffee. You have to schmooze. And we laugh about it to this day, and he's the joy of my life. I wish he was here, but he's 3,000 miles away. He lives in Marina Del Rey, California. Thank you, Dean. Well, it is the Jazz Master Award. I should talk about jazz. Improvisation is a big part of jazz. You need to know how to improvise. Well, that's kind of how my life went since I was very young. A lot of improvisation. One door open, another door closed, one door open, another door closed, a lot of different directions. I was told by my father, always be a good listener. And for a good many years, people thought I was very quiet. Well, back then I was listening. And he said, get to know people, and you'll know them if you listen to them. And if they like you, you may have something good happen to you. Well, that's what I did. I started to listen. I didn't intend on being a producer or a manager or the artistic director. For some reason, it just fell into place. If you just get up every day, try to be a good person, and you try to do your job the best you can, eventually, good things will happen to you. As I'm sure they happen to all of you. And that's what I do. I get up every day. I have faith, and that carries me. I have trust. I trust people, because I think it's very important in life to trust people, especially my doctors. A few of them are here tonight. You're too fat, Joe. Most of the things that happened to me in life was really unintended. They just happened. You can't fit a square peg in a round hole, and timing is everything. If it's going to happen, it's meant to happen, it'll happen for the right reasons at the right time, and you just go with it. I am honored and humbled to accept this award. Thank you so much from the bottom of my heart for coming to me. Thank you. Anybody out, I'm sorry. And John Thornton's doing all the videos tonight. Thank you, John. If everybody would sit down, I have another little story I want to tell you. It won't be long. I know Bob Giordano wants to go. Oh no, we're all right, Bob? We're okay?
Fine, Joe.
Well, you know, I did win some Grammys. About 26 years ago, I'm out in Las Vegas. A cousin of mine, Carmen, who was my mentor when I was a little boy. He was a drummer, and I wanted to be like my cousin Carmen, who just passed this year. And Carmen came up to me and said, you need to go over to, I think it was the Aladdin, and meet this gentleman. He has a fantastic band. Come on over. I said, okay. So my wife and I went, and I think we brought her sister Connie and her husband and a few people. We go over. It was a polka dance. Yes, packed, mobbed, couldn't move. Everybody was having a good time, just having a party. And so my cousin Carmen introduced me to this gentleman. I was so impressed with the band. About a year later, I said, Jim, that's his name. Jim, you want to come into Atlantic City? I think you could do your Christmas show over at the Taj Mahal. My friend Stephanie Nelson's there, and I think she would love your act. He said, sure. So they came in. Christmas show, everybody fell in love with this act. And Jamie and I became friends. And about a year or two later, he called me up and he said, you know, I know this isn't your genre, but on my CD, I did an old tune called Sing, Sing, Sing. I said, oh, I know that song. It's been a good one. Yeah. Louis Prima wrote that song, by the way. He said, I don't like the mix. It was mixed down in Nashville. Will you remix it for me? Okay, I will. Send me the files. I go into New York, and we remix it. Well, that year, that CD won a Grammy, and I got a Grammy certificate. Yeah. The following year, Jimmy said, listen, you don't have to do anything, just come on down to our sessions. At that time, they were in Nashville, recording with a wonderful engineer by the name of Tom Pick. And he said, come on down, just sit there, and I'll pay you. Oh, he did, and I went. And back then, there weren't Pro Tools. Everything was analog. And Jimmy wasn't into the digital world yet. And I'm sitting there going, oh boy. Well, the following year, he said, how would you like to come? I'm going to be in New York, the studio in New York, and come in and help out. I ended up producing the next 7, 8 CDs for him. I got to tell you some of the people he recorded with. Willie Nelson, Alison Krauss, Bella Fleck, Lee Greenwood, Boots Randolph, Charlie Daniels, Bobby Vinton. Oh, it goes on and on.
Wow.
Delbert McClinton. I loved him. So I got to work with all these people. That's only a few. And I'd like to thank him. He's here tonight. 18-time Grammy winner, Jimmy Sturr. Thank you, Jimmy. And before I get off the stage, there are so many people here that I love and respect. And I'm so thrilled that they're here. And they're musicians and neighbors and doctors. And no lawyers tonight. I can't thank you enough for coming. I love you all. Have fun.
I hope you viewers saw what Joe Donofrio was doing in his acceptance speech. Though he was getting the award, Joe's words were filled with praise for other people. That's pretty darn inspiring, in my opinion.
This is for my wonderful husband, whom I'm very proud of. I had him in mind when I wrote this song. It's called My Love. So many times I've tossed and turned, wondering when love and I would meet. Then one night I saw the light and I learned you've been standing right in front of me. My love, each day has new meaning with you. You got all of my troubles off the roof. Since you walked into my life, my love, I can no longer be afraid. I no more alone.